friends, welcome to Online Tutor. I am Sanjay. This is really amazing and exciting to know that in this video, which is a complete course, here we'll see all about the concept of creating Node APIs using MySQL database driver and Sequelize ORM. So right now, if you have any hesitation while creating Node APIs, trust me, after watching this video without skip, you will be able to create Node APIs with full confidence. We have one more request, please subscribe to this channel so that we can create such type of amazing videos, amazing content free for you. Let's go to slide first. So as we know that this is a complete step-by-step course to create Node APIs. So we will start from scratch. So here first we'll see all about project setup. Inside project setup, we'll understand the concept of package.json file and also discuss all about node dependencies that we need inside this API development course. Then we discuss all about the concept of Sequelize CLI. Next we see all about application basic settings using Express. Then we create a database and connect with our application. After database connectivity, then we create a table with name called employees, and inside that employees table we have number of columns as ID, name, email, gender and mobile. So once we see and understand all about the complete basics concept of this node and project setup, then we hopefully will start all about the core part of this course, that is all about API development processes, where we'll discuss all about these APIs like add employee, get all employee, get single employee information, update employee and delete employee. So once we call this add employee API, by the help of this API, we'll post our employee data and save inside employees database table. Then we create another API, that is get all employee. It means all the employees what we have saved inside this table will list by the help of the second API. By the help of this third API, we'll pass an employee ID into URL. So after getting employee ID from URL, we'll fetch the specific information of that employee from table. And finally, we'll see the concept of update employee API and delete employee API. So this is really exciting to understand about each concept to create Node APIs. So right now, if you have any hesitation, please watch this complete video without skip. Trust me, you will be able to create Node APIs with full confidence. So let's get started all about with our first step, that is all about project setup. Inside this project setup, we'll see first all about the concept of package.json file. So first I will go inside our project folder. I am inside where www.html and node minus means -MySQL. So inside this setup, we can see we don't have any file, but we want to create our first application file, that is package.json. Package.json file is a very important file inside Node application because it manages all about node dependencies. So if I go inside project terminal, this is the exact application what we see in here. So to create package.json file, we have two options. First, if I type npm init, press enter, so after pressing enter, it will ask a series of questions. On those series of questions, if you provide any input values, so by getting those inputs, it generates package.json file for this node application. But to save our time, if we want to put the default values, simple npm init -y, if I press enter, now we can see that this is all about all the content of package.json. It's an object, and inside this object we have all these properties like name, version, description, main, scripts, keywords, author and license. So inside each property, we can see here we have some value, and this is all about the default values of this package.json. Now if I go into our application folder, now we can see that inside this node-MySQL, here we have a single file called package.json. So now I will open this file into my project editor, that is VS Code. So successfully I have opened my Node application into my VS Code editor. if you have a different editor, you can open into that. So right now we have only a single file called package.json. Now in the next step, we want some node dependencies. Let's go to slide here. This is done, package.json settings done. Next we want Express, MySQL, body-parser, Sequelize, Sequelize CLI and nodemon. So let's discuss one by one about each dependencies. So Express, it's a node application web framework. By the help of that, we can create our own server and also we can create our web application. So by using this Express, we can create our web APIs. Next we want MySQL. Obviously, we are using MySQL database driver to create our database, to create APIs with our database table, so we want MySQL. Next we have body-parser. As we know that we have some post API, like from this add employee API, we want to get our employee data from request body to create a new employee for this table. So to read all the body parameters from request, we need to use body-parser. Next we have Sequelize. Sequelize is a TypeScript based Node.js ORM which we will use inside this API development course. Next we have Sequelize CLI. CLI stands for Command Line Interface. So this is the extended version of Sequelize which provides a set of commands, and by the help of these commands we can interact with our Sequelize node application. And finally here we have nodemon. So when we do any changes inside our node application, automatically it listens all the changes and restart our web server. So let's install all these node packages into this application step by step. So first we want to install this Express. So I will go into the official website of node packages, that is npmjs.com, and search here, that is Express. If I press enter, now here Express exact match, click on it. It will open all about the documentation of Express. So here we can see this is all about installation command. So I will just copy, go here, open a new tab. So to install Express, this is the installation command. Next we want all about MySQL. Again go here and search here, that is MySQL 2. If I press enter, exact match, click on MySQL 2. Here we have the installation command. So I will copy to install MySQL. This is all about npm I MySQL 2. Next we have body-parser. Again I will go here and type body-parser. If I click on the search button, exact match, click on it, and from this documentation I will copy the installation command, and here body-parser, and this is the installation command called npm I body-parser. Next we have Sequelize. So I will copy this keyword, go here into this search bar and Sequelize. Click on search button, Sequelize, click on it, and here we have the installation command. So I will copy, go here to install Sequelize. This is, we have the installation command. Next we have Sequelize CLI. So same, we type called Sequelize -CLI. Click on search button. Here we have exact match. I will click on this Sequelize CLI, go into this documentation and copy this installation command. So here Sequelize and CLI. Now next we need all about this nodemon. That will be our final package. So nodemon, click on search button, exact match, click on it. This is all about the installation command. So I will copy, go here to install nodemon, and this is the command. So if we want to install all these packages to our project setup, we need to execute one by one each command to our project terminal. But I'm not interested to execute all these commands step by step. Instead, I want to run all these commands into a single line command, and all these packages we want to install into a single line command. So what we can do here, to install all commands into single command. So simple, we need to use npm either install or npm I, the first package we have called express, copy here MySQL to put a space, pasting it here, body-parser space, body-parser Sequelize space, Sequelize CLI space, and finally here we have nodemon. So this is the complete command. Once we type and press enter, automatically these packages will be installed inside our Node application. So just copy this complete command, go inside project terminal, pasting it here, press enter. Now we can see that installation started. So successfully we can see that npm has added 188 packages to this Node application. Let's go to editor. Now we can see here we have node modules, and also inside this package.json we have one more property which is also an object called dependencies, and inside this object we have all node packages. So successfully the basic settings, it means the basic project setup, now completed. Now next I will discuss all about the concept of Sequelize CLI. So before discussing this package, if I go inside our package.json, now we can see that here we have Sequelize-CLI. So what is the use of Sequelize CLI? So CLI stands for Command Line Interface Tool. It means it provides a set of commands. By the help of those commands, we can interact with a Sequelize node-based project. So this is a node application. Now inside this node application, we want to use Sequelize CLI command. So go to our project editor, in project terminal, and if I type npx sequelize, npx stands for node package execute, and this is our node package. So I want to execute this package by using npx. This is our project folder. Inside this folder we are executing npx sequelize, press enter. Now we can see a bulk of command list. This is the command list. What we are seeing is only possible by using Sequelize CLI. So Sequelize CLI, node version, CLI version, and this is ORM version. So by the help of each command of this Sequelize CLI, we can interact with this node application. So here we can see, here we have multiple commands like Sequelize, db migrate, and so on. But one of the most important command from these commands, that is Sequelize init. Once we use this Sequelize init command, it initializes our node project and create 4 different folders. First will be config. Inside config folder we'll get a single file called config.json. Next we will have migrations, third will be models, and 4 will be seeders. So I will use this Sequelize init command to create means our Sequelize folders. Also we want initialize our node application. So here I will copy this Sequelize init command. It's npx sequelize init. If I press enter, now we can see that this init command now created a config folder, and inside this folder here we have a file called config.json, and also it has created models folder, migrations folder, and seeders folder. Let's go to our project editor. Now we can see that apart from node modules, which was our initial folder after installation of node packages, here we have more folders as config. Here we have this file, migrations, models, and seeders. Now let's discuss what is the basic importance of all these folders. So first, this config folder name itself says that this is a configuration folder. Inside this folder, here we have a file called config.json, and this is really a very important file because by the help of this file, we can make our database connectivity. Inside this object, it means this is a complete object, and inside this object here we have 3 properties called development, test, and production. And inside each object means inside each property we have an object. This is all about an object for this development. This is an object of this test and production. So this is nothing, this is all about our application level. It means as we know that this setup currently is in development mode, so we'll use all about to provide our database connection details inside this object. If suppose our application completes, our development completes, our project is in test mode, so in that case, database details will go inside this test object. And finally, after development, after testing, if we upload this project into our production server, so in that case, all the details will go inside this production object. And after providing all those details inside production, we need to go inside models folder. This is again another important file, because by the help of this file we tell that what actually application level currently we are using. So by default, as we can see, it is using development, but once we use like test or production, we need to update this value as well. So this is the first folder concept, is all about to store application configuration files. By default, it stores database configuration. Now next, here we have migrations, which is totally empty, but by the help of migrations command of Sequelize, we create migration files, and by the help of those files we create our table structure inside our database. So this concept is also interesting. Now next, here we have models folder, and by the help of models folder we interact with all the tables what we had created by using the concept of migration. So by using migration we create tables for our database. By using models we interact those tables of database. Next we have seeders. If in our application we want some huge number of test data, fake data, so by using seeders concept we can generate test data for our application. So this is overall the basics concept of Sequelize CLI command, and also the importance of all these auto-generated folders. And one more thing, so as we know that this folder, this folder, this folder, and also this folder auto-generated, so accidentally while working with this application, let's say migrations, now deleted, and also this config folder also deleted. So how we recover our existing folders? So simple. If we want to generate again migrations folder, again go here, and if I type npx sequelize, go to our Sequelize command list. Here we have a command called initconfig, which generate a config folder with config.json file. Remember, this creates a folder from scratch if you have done any changes inside config.json, but after delete you will lose all the settings, all the updates what you had done inside config.json, because it creates a file freshly. So here, if we want to create config folder with config.json, simple, I need to copy this command, and if I type Sequelize initconfig, and before I type call npx, if I press enter, now it has created a new folder config, and inside this new folder we have a new config.json. If you have done any update, any changes, any settings before deletion, all changes will be lost. Now next, we want one more folder, that is migrations. So again, if I go into command list called npx sequelize, here we have migrations. So let's copy. I will type npx sequelize init migrations. Now successfully we'll see that it has generated a migrations folder. So this is the overall basic concept about Sequelize CLI. So it is also completed. Now next, I will discuss all about application basic settings using Express. Let's go inside our project editor. So first, to start with application basic settings, we need to create a basic file, or we can say main entry file. So I will create a file called app.js. Once you create this file, go here inside package.json, find main property and update this app.js. Save these changes, close this file, and inside here let's say const express equals to require and express. Now next, I need to take a port value. By the help of that port value, we'll listen all the requests. So const port equals to, let's say, 8087. Here let's say const app equals to express. Now successfully we have created an instance of express. Now by using this app.listen, and here we need to pass our port value, define a callback function, and inside this callback function, let's say console.log application started. Now let's create a welcome page route. So here, welcome page, so app.get / callback function, and here let's say console.log welcome to main landing page. And one more thing, before calling this callback function, we need to pass a request parameter and response. So successfully, this is our welcome page route. Save all these changes. I will go inside project terminal. Let's start and execute our application. So we have two options here. So we want to execute this application. We want to call this app.js, simple node app.js. If I press enter, now we can see application started. Let's go to our browser, and if I type localhost 8087, our application port, press enter, it is loading. But once we go inside project terminal, now we'll see welcome to main landing page. But once we do any changes here, let's say some dummy value, comma, some dummy value. Again, if I go to our live application URL, press enter, go here, we can see that we are getting our old message. So it means our application does not restart it. So here, what we can do here, as we know that inside our package.json, also we had installed a package called nodemon. So we'll use the concept of nodemon. So whenever we do any changes inside our application, automatically it listen and restart web server. So instead of using node, close here, npx node package execute and type nodemon. If I press enter, now you can see nodemon started our web server. After starting, it goes inside package.json file and search for main property, and automatically it picks app.js and started node app.js. Now you can see application started. If I go here, press enter, it's loading. But once we go in terminal, now we can see some dummy value. Let's go and change some more value here. app.js, let's pass something dummy value, save these changes, again go and reloading. Now you can see our dummy value. So perfect, it is working. Now here we need to do some more settings here. Assume that we have created all these APIs into this single common file, that is app.js. So it is too much complicated to manage all application routes into a common file. Instead, what we can do here, we need to create a separate file to manage our API routes. So what we'll do here, I will go and create one more module. Means inside node application, every JavaScript file is known as a module. So this is app module. Now I'll create one more module, that is routes.js. So I will create at project root, that is routes.js, and here let's say const express equals to require, and express, let's say const router equals to express dot router. And here I will go inside this app.js. Let's cut this welcome page route, go inside this routes module, put it here, and instead of using app, because this app is undefined to this file, so I will use this router, and finally let's say module dot exports equals to router. And finally, this is a separate module, so we need to add this module to this app.js. So here const, let's say app routes equals to require. We want to include our route module from project root, so dot / and routes. And finally copy this app routes because it contains our application API routes. So here app.use / and app routes. Save these changes. Now here we have a separate module. Inside this module, we'll configure all API routes and this module we have loaded inside this app module. So save all these changes, and here let's say welcome to Node.js APIs with Sequelize ORM. Once we do this message update, go here, just reload, loading. If I go here, now we can see our landing page message. But instead of seeing our console message here, we want a JSON response. So let's remove this console.log response.json, put an object here, status equals to true, and message, let's say welcome to Node.js APIs. Save all these changes. I will go here. Automatically it listen all the changes. Application restarted. And here we can see our welcome to Node.js APIs. Perfect. This time we are seeing a proper JSON response. One more setting we can do here, that is all about that here we are using function based concept, but instead I want to use arrow functions. So first I will start from this app module. Let's remove this function keyword, just remove, after parenthesis put arrow operator. Go inside routes module, let's remove this function keyword, and after this parenthesis just add arrow operator. If I go and reload, now we can see our exact output. So successfully, this is all about the basic settings of application using Express. So if I go into a checklist, so successfully this has been also completed. Now let's discuss all about database connectivity. So already we know that inside this project setup, we have a config.json file where we need to provide our database details. So we want username, password, database, host, and dialect. So what we can do here, first I will go inside phpMyAdmin, click on databases. Let's create a database. So YT, let's say ORM node APIs. So I will copy the database name, click on create button, database created. Let's go inside project editor. So dialect equals to MySQL. So we are using MySQL database driver, so it is okay. Also we are using localhost, so this IP is also okay inside database. So this is the database what we are using. In my case, phpMyAdmin, password is admin@123 and username is admin. In your case, maybe these details are different. So successfully now this application is connected with this database. Let's go to our checklist. So successfully this connectivity also completed. Next we'll see all about the concept to create a database table. So inside this database what we had created, we need to create a table called employees, and inside that employees table we'll have some number of columns as ID, name, email, gender, and mobile. So to create a table inside our application, as we are using Sequelize CLI, so we'll use the concept of migration and model. So before that, if I go inside project terminal, let's close that and I will type npx sequelize. Press enter. Now from these commands, here we can see here we have a command called Sequelize migration generate, Sequelize migration create. So once we use any command from these commands, it will create a migration file, and that migration file will go inside this migrations folder, and by the help of that file we can create a table structure, table schema inside our database. But to interact with that table also we need a model file. So here inside this command list we have one more command, that is model generate and model create. So while creating model, also we need to pass an extra flag, and by passing extra flag we can also get a create a migration file. So I will create model and migration using a single command here. So let's use this model create. So I will copy, let's say npx sequelize model create. I will use name flag, or before using all these parameters, if I type help, which opens all about the help manual, press enter. Now you can see that here we have multiple options which is available while executing this model create command. Now here from these options we can see here we have a name flag and attributes. So while using this name flag we need to pass our model name, and while using these attributes we need to pass all the columns what we want inside our employees table. So here let's npx sequelize model create. I will use name and let's call it as employee, our model name. Next we have attributes, and as we know that for employees table we want ID, name, email, gender and mobile. So this is auto increment, so we want name, email, gender and mobile. So here inside these attributes list it's a name colon string. It means that this name field is going to contain string value with a comma. Next field we want like email, so email colon string comma. Next we have gender. I want enum type, so colon enum, which is data type, comma mobile and string. So before executing this command, if I copy the whole command, let's go to slide, pasting it here. So here npx sequelize model create, this is the basic command of Sequelize CLI. Next we have a name flag, and inside this name flag we are passing our model name. Here inside this attributes flag we are passing our attributes like name. This is our column name, and here we have the data type of that column. So a string, email string, gender enum and mobile string. Remember all these attributes we have separated using comma. Don't use any space or underscore here. So if I go inside project terminal, press enter, now you can see that this command has generated employee.js, which is a model file, and also this create-employee.js, which is a migration file. If I go inside project editor, first I will go inside this migrations folder, and this is all about a migration file. So once we migrate this migration inside our project terminal, this migration file will create a table called employees inside our database. So this is a migration file, and also we had created model employee.js. So this model is interacting with our employees table what we create using this migration. So before creating employees, first I will go inside this employee migration and do our needed requirements. So this file is going to create employees table, so table name is OK. It also creates ID column, which is auto increment and primary key, it is also OK. Next we have name, so I want that name field maximum characters equals to 120. Also null equals to false, it means this field is required. Next we have email, it's a 50 characters, which is a maximum length of email value, and also null equals to false, it is also required. Gender, we need to pass a set of values, so male, female and other, and also we want that while inputting our values, if we don't pass any value for gender, so automatically when we insert a new employee for this table, the default value of this gender column equals to male. Next we have mobile, maximum characters equals to 50 and null equals to 2. It means that this field is optional. And finally this is auto generated called created at and updated at. So we don't want this timestamps column, so let's remove. Save all these changes, migration completed. Now according to these adjustments, also we need to go inside our model file called employee.js, and here we are not using timestamps because we have removed. So go inside the second object of this init method, and timestamps equals to false because we are not using. Now next I will go inside this gender, because for this enum we have a set of values called male. Instead I will copy this complete set and paste here. So successfully this is what we had done, our adjustment with this migration and model. Now let's create our employees table inside our database. This is really interesting to see that how we create a table using this migration file. So let's go inside project terminal, and if I type npx sequelize from this command list, here we can see db migrate. So once we use this db migrate, it runs all the migrations which not yet migrated, and after execution of migration files, it creates table structure inside our database. So right now we can see that inside our database we don't have any table, but let's execute this command. So I will copy this Sequelize db migrate. So let's npx Sequelize db migrate, press enter. Now we can see that it has used development environment. It picked database details, go inside our migrations folder, search for all the pending migrations, and automatically detected this employee.js and created our employees table inside our database. So if I go here, just reload, now we can see that here we have two tables called employees and Sequelize meta. This is by default generated table of Sequelize CLI to keep tracks of all the migrations what we have migrated inside this database. Now here, the main concern of our own created table, that is employees. If I go inside the structure, so inside employees table, here we have ID, name, 120 characters in length, email, gender, set of values, default value equals to male, mobile, and this mobile column is accepting a null value. So successfully, here we have created a table skeleton, table structure using migration concept of Sequelize CLI. Let's go here, and from this checklist, now this has been also completed. And finally, we'll start on the API development processes. So first, from this APIs list, we'll create add employee API. So while calling this add employee API, we need to pass a set of data like name, email, gender, mobile. So after getting all these data from request body, we'll save that data using model inside our table called employees. So let's go inside project editor. I will close all these files first. Let's open this routes.js file. So here I will include our employee model, because once we include our employee model, by the help of that we interact with employees table to do MySQL operations. So obviously we need for create operation, read operation, update operation and delete operation. So here const employee table and equals to require, and it is coming from models folder. So dot / models, and from models folder we want to include this employee model. So just copy model name, close this file. So after this require dot model. So successfully now we have imported this employee table. Let's go here and create add employee API. This API we hit using post request type. So here router dot post method, and inside this post method let's say / add employee, which is our route name. Next we have the callback function, so parenthesis request response arrow function and curly pairs. And here I will use the concept of this employee table. So employee table dot create method, and inside this create method we need to pass an object here, and that object will contain all the values what we need to create an employee data for our table. So if I go inside our database table, so to create any new employee we want name, email, gender and mobile. So here inside this create method we need to pass an object. First we need to pass our properties, and those properties our column names of tables, so name, email, gender, and here we have mobile. After that here we'll include then function, promise functions, then. So after execution, if we have no error, it will go inside this then function. So data, or we can call success, go here. In case of any error, it will go inside this catch block. So this is an error handler. So here let's response.json status equals to false, message, let's say failed to execute, insert query. Save these changes, go inside this then block, it means success block. So response.json status equals to true, and here let's say message equals to employee created successfully. Now here the main focus is all about to read our request body parameters. This is all about the basic structure to create an employee and save inside our table. But before that, we need to read all about request body parameters from API request. So first I will go inside this app.js. Remember, we have one more package, that is body-parser. So here const body-parser equals to require, and here body-parser. Once we include, go here, so app.use body-parser.json method. So once we include body-parser inside node application, it means now we are able to read the request body parameters. I will go here. So before executing all these code, let's go and comment first, and here let's say console.log. If I type request.body, save all these changes, I need to open Postman to do unit testing of this API. So successfully I have opened Postman here. So before executing our post API, first I need to start development server. So npx nodemon, press enter, application started. So localhost 8087. I will copy this project URL, go inside Postman. Inside this URL bar, select post request type, and after this project URL, I need to type add-employee. So just copy, go here, put it here, go inside headers, let's say accept, application JSON, which is our first header, go here, select content type, and it is also application JSON, go inside body tab, select raw. Now we can see application JSON auto selected, and this is because actually we have passed content type inside the header. So body, raw, application JSON. So we need to pass name, email, gender, and mobile. So these are the parameters we want to create a new employee for our table. So this is all about the employee name, email, this is a dummy email, gender, mobile number. So once we pass all these values, and if you press send button to this API with this request body parameters, click here. If I go into console, but it's loading, go into console. Now you can see that here we have our body parameters. If suppose I'm not going to use this body parser, let's comment this package, save these changes. If I again click on send button, this time we can see undefined. So it is very important to include our body parser package before reading all about the request body parameters. Now go here. Now I will go and remove this console.log, and I will uncomment these commented lines. I will go inside this create method. We want an object, and as we know that inside this request we are getting an object here, that is name, email, gender, and mobile. So if these keys will match all the columns what we have inside our table, so simple, we need to pass here something like this: request.body only, request.body only. But in case if these request parameters keys are different from the column names what we have inside our table, so in that case we need to pass manually, like object name. The name value will come from request.body.name. For email, request.body.email. For gender, request.body.gender. And finally for phone number, I think we have mobile here. Let's copy this mobile key. So mobile equals to request.body. If we see our request parameters, that is mobile. So this is how we create an object and pass inside this create method. So successfully if it inserts a new employee into our table, so after success response it will go inside this then block. Otherwise in case of any error it will go inside this catch block. So save all these changes. Let's do a quick unit testing. I will go here, pass this employee data. If I go here, click on browse here, we don't have any entry. Currently there is 0 rows inside this employees table. Now let's click on send button. Now you can see employee created successfully. If I go here, let's reload. Now we can see that our first employee entry inside our employees table. Now let's quickly create some more employees. This is our second employee. Click on send button, employee saved and employee created. Now let's add one more checkpoint here, that is if we have registered any employee with this email address, so second time if we pass the same email, user will not be registered. So we want email uniqueness. So for that what we have to do, we need to go inside this our code section and here let's say employee table dot find one method. It's a Sequelize ORM method. Find one, we need to pass object here, let's say where colon again object and let's say email equals to request dot body dot email. It is also going to contain a then block, data, arrow function. Next we have our catch block in case of any error, arrow function and object. So what we can do here, first I will go here, it means we find. So here if data, it means employee accessed, so in that case response.json status equals to false and message, let's say email already exists. Otherwise go inside this else block, we need to implement all the code what we had done. Let's cut all the code and go inside this else block. First I will go inside this catch block. This is the catch block of this first find one block. Let's collapse this then block. I will go here, let's say response.json status equals to false, message equals to let's say failed to execute query. Next I will go inside this then block. So here if this employee found, so obviously we'll have some data inside this data variable, so in that case email already exists. Otherwise there is no data with this email value, we need to create a new employee inside our table. Save all these changes. If I go here, now let's say that this email as we know registered already inside our database. Let's click on set button again and here email already exists. But if I change this email value to a something different value, click on send button. Now you can see employee created successfully. So this is the overall concept. Let's delete this third employee and I will create one more employee here. Click on send button, employee created. So overall this is the whole concept to create add employee API. So finally our first API from this checklist now completed. Next we'll see all about the concept of this get all employee API. Let's go to project editor. I will collapse this add employee API. Let's create another route, that is get all employee. We'll hit using get request type. So here router dot get, let's say list employee, request response arrow function and curly pairs. So employee table dot find all method and here I will concatenate with this then block. So here data, in case of any error here we'll have another block, that is catch block. So then block and catch block. So inside catch block, let's say response.json, pass an object here, status equals to false, and message equals to, let's say, failed to execute query. Let's go inside this then block. So here if data, it means we have some employees, otherwise go inside this else block, response.json, status equals to true, not true, it will be false, and message equals to no employee found. I will go inside this if block. So here response.json, pass an object, status equals to true, message equals to employees found, and inside third key, let's say data equals to data. So this data, or instead let's call it as users. So inside users we have all the employees what we got inside this response. Save all these changes. Let's do a quick unit testing. I will go inside postman. Let's copy, open a new tab, pasting it here. Get request is okay. Go inside headers. Let's say accept application JSON. I will go inside, not go, only we need to pass a single header this time, and add-employee. This time I will call list-employee. Click on send button. Now you can see that status equals to true, employees found, and look at here inside this users property. Here we have array of objects, and these are the employee informations are coming in object format what we have saved by using our add employee API. So successfully the second API of this list also completed. Next we will see all about the concept of this get single employee API. So while calling this single employee API, it means we need to pass employee ID into URL. So after getting employee ID, first we need to check if exists employee, then we need to fetch our single specific employee information. So let's go to our project editor, collapse that. Let's create one more route that is all about get single employee information. So here router.get /single-employee, and also we need to pass employee ID into URL. So /:ID. This ID is a placeholder value, and inside this placeholder we need to pass employee ID. Let's go request response arrow function and curly pairs. So here employee table, I'll use find one method. Inside this method I will pass an object here. So where object, inside this where, let's say ID equals to request.params.id. So request.params means that we are reading employee ID from URL, and this is the placeholder. So here ID, if suppose this is something imp, so we type call imp. So by using request.params.id, we need to find the ID value what we are passing into URL. So once we get that ID value, I am passing inside this where object, and once this employee table finds that data, it will go inside this then block. Otherwise, in case of any error while execution of select command, it will go inside this error handler. So here let's response.json status equals to false, and message equals to, let's say, failed to execute query. Save these changes, go inside this then block. If data is not empty, it means employee found. So in that case, response.json status equals to true, and message, let's say, employee data found, and I will pass one more key that is user, and here it is data. Otherwise, if employee not found, go inside this else block. Let's copy this response, put it here. So status equals to false, and here no employee found. Save these changes. This is all about the logic of single employee API. Save these changes. I will go inside Postman. Let's do a quick unit testing. So copy this API URL, open a new tab. Instead of calling list employee, I will call single-employee. Get method is okay. Go inside headers. Let's say accept application JSON. And into this single employee URL also we need to pass employee ID. So as we know that inside this table the employee ID we have called 1, 2 and 4, but whenever if I pass let's say 100 which does not exist, let's click on send button. Now you can see no employee found. But once we pass let's say 4th number ID which exists inside our database, click on send button. Now we can see status equals to true, employee data found. And this is all about user object which contains the 4th number employee information. So successfully, this is all about the concept of get single employee API. So it is also completed. Next we will discuss all about the concept of this update employee API. So while calling this update employee API, first we'll hit using put request type, and here we need to pass two types of parameters. First, employee ID into URL, and second, our updated data inside request body. Let's go to our project editor, collapse this get single employee information, and here this is all about update employee API. We hit using put request type. So router dot put method / let's say update -employee. We need to pass employee ID, so / ID means placeholder, so request, response, arrow function and curly pairs. So first, before updating any employee, first we need to check that on the basis of this ID, employee exists or not. So here let's say employee table dot find one. Inside this object let's say where ID equals to request dot params dot ID. Here it's a then block data arrow function curly pairs. Next we have our error handler block, that is catch block. So error, go inside this catch block, let's response dot JSON status equals to false, message equals to failed to execute query. I will go inside this done block, let's say if data, it means employee exists, otherwise go inside this else block. Let's copy this response, put it here. So in this case let's say no employee found. Save these changes. I will go inside this if block, it means employee exists. So in this case, first we need to read all about the updated data from request body. So let's say that while updating any employee, we are passing name and email value. So here name equals to, we can get request dot body dot name. So here let's say employee table dot update method. These are the methods are coming from Sequelize ORM. So update. Here we have our first object where we need to pass updated data. So employee table dot update, it's a name. We want to update the name value. So request dot body dot name. Next we want email value. So request dot body dot email, or instead of email, because email is uniqueness, so let's say that I don't want to update this email value, instead I want to update mobile number. So request dot body dot mobile. And after this first object, here we have the second object where we need to put our conditions, because while executing update statement and delete statement, the conditions what we are passing inside where statement is too much important. So here I will go inside the second object, let's say where object, let's say id equals to request dot params dot id. So successfully, again we need to bind with this then promise block. So then data arrow function, again here we have the catch block. So arrow function and block. So go inside this catch block, I will copy the same response, fail to execute query, pasting it here. Go inside this done block, let's copy this no employee found response and put it here, but instead of false it will be true. And here let's employee updated successfully. Save these changes. Now let's do a quick unit testing. So I will copy this update have an employee, but before that let's go here. I will copy this API URL, open a new tab, pasting it here. So instead of single hyphen employee, this time update hyphen employee, select put request type, go inside headers, let's accept application JSON, go inside body, select raw. By default it is coming text, but once we go inside headers and add content type equals to application JSON, go inside body raw, now you can see it is selected. So here, as we had discussed, we need to pass name and mobile to update the existing employee. So here let's say name and mobile. So let's say we want to update, for example, this 4th number employee. So what we can do here, name we want something, this is the name, and mobile value, let's say something is the dummy mobile number. But before updating employee information, let's pass 400. This is employee ID which does not exist. Let's click on send button and see what happens. Now we can see fail to execute query. So I think we have some error inside our code. So if I go inside our API route, request.params, okay, so instead of calling param, it will be params. And let's check it here inside our where, so it is okay. Here we had the mistake, save these changes, go here, let's click on send button. Now we can see no employee found. Now let's pass this 4th number employee which exists. Now we want to hit this API. This is employee ID using put request, and this is all about updated data. So before calling this API, here we have the existing information. If I click on send button, employee updated, let's go here, reload this page, and now we can see that the name value and the mobile number now successfully updated. So this is the concept of update employee API. So it is also completed. Now next, finally, we'll see the last API of this course, that is all about delete employee API. So I will go inside project editor. Let's collapse here. So delete employee. This API we hit using delete request type. So router dot delete method / delete hyphen employee / I will pass employee ID which we want to delete, callback function, so request response arrow function curly pairs. So let's say employee table dot find one method, because before delete first we need to check that employee exists or not. So find one parenthesis, inside that object, let's say id request dot params dot id. I will go here, I will add with this then promise block, let's say data arrow function catch block error. So go first inside this catch block, let's say response dot json status equals to false, message equals to failed to execute query. Go inside this done block. So if data is not empty, it means we have an employee. So on successful getting the employee information, we need to delete that. So I will go first inside this else block, let's say response dot json status equals to false, message equals to no employee found. Now next I will go inside this if block. So here employee table I will call destroy method, because by the help of this destroy method we can delete our existing employee on the basis of this id value. So here inside parenthesis pass an object, let's say where object id request dot params dot id. Again we need to concatenate with our promise blocks. So then data, and here catch block error. So here we have our code, then block and catch block. So what we can do here, I will copy this catch block response, put it here inside this then block. I will copy this no employee found response, put it here, but instead I need to change some settings like status equals to true, and this time employee deleted successfully. Save these changes. All the code logic and implementation of this delete employee are completed. Let's go to Postman. I will copy this API URL, open a new tab, pasting it here. So I need to select delete here, go inside headers. Let's say accept application JSON. Inside this API URL, we need to change from delete-employee. So here we have ID, means valid IDs call 1, 2 and 4. 3 does not exist, but when we pass into URL, click on send button, we can see no employee found. So I will change, let's say to number, means the second number employee exists. So let's go and click on send button, employee deleted. So hopefully now we can see that the second number employee not deleted. So this is, as we can see guys, this is a complete step-by-step course after following from project setup to create our delete API. So this is really amazing course. So finally we have completed one more API, that was our last API called delete employee API. So finally we have completed the complete course of this Node.js to create CRUD based APIs using Express, MySQL and Sequelize ORM. You can feel guys that this is completely effort work from our side to deliver the exact information what you need to create Node APIs using Sequelize ORM. So please like this video, provide a good comment, and also most important, subscribe to this channel so that we can always create a good and interesting course free for you. And one more thing before closing this video, that I will provide all the source code of this course development to a GitHub repository, and I will provide the complete link to download the complete source code from here into the description of this video. So one more time, so successfully, congratulations that we have completed this complete course of Node APIs MySQL using Sequelize ORM. So please like this video, comment and subscribe to this channel. We'll meet into the next amazing video. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.